Hey, what's up, YouTube? A little bit further out so we can get everybody in the shot. So, not going to tell you guys who these people are yet, but episode 60. Episode 60. I can't believe that we're on episode 60. Golly. But I will tell you, I won't tell you how they found us, but that's Grace and that's Jon. You guys can wave. Here's Etiana. My wife and my daughter are back there, Allie and Jamie. Is Sam back there? No. So, guys, we appreciate you being here. Make sure you listen to this podcast. We're going to tell you a little bit about how Jon and Grace found us and the cool story that leads up to today. So, get ready. Here we go. Let me see. Ready? Everybody ready?
Are you ready?
3,
Ready.
2. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Made for More Consulting Podcast, episode 60, where we talk leadership and personal development. It's all about just making sure that we get better every day, making sure our teams get better, our organizations get better. And the cool thing about today is it's episode 60. We have a couple of guests that we're going to tell you guys about. If you would like to see the video version of this, go to YouTube, check us out, Made for More Consulting, and it's the number 4. You'll see our logo on there, the blue Roman numeral 4. So make sure you go check us out. Again, you don't want to miss this. It's a great time to listen because we have guests. And Etiana's here.
Hey.
My wife and my daughter are here, and then we have our guests, and I'll introduce them in just a second. But Adina is out. If you guys, I'll tell you what she usually says. This is your very first time listening. Again, personal development and leadership, and we are all about making sure that you get better as a leader and as a person. But if this is your first time listening, go back and listen to episode 1 and 27, where Adina calls the shots and she interviews us. Or interviews me about this whole thought of Made for More. We will be recording a more recent one so that we don't have people listening to 1 and 27, even though I believe the last 2 days we've had a new listener because I saw the analytics.
We had like 47 downloads
in one day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that typically means that somebody new is listening, so we appreciate you listening. I did share this with Nolan Ryan's, a couple of their executive team, I think it's execs, and so they started listening, so I think that was one of them because they took my card, and so yeah, guys, we have a couple special guests, and we're gonna hear a little bit about how they ended up here in Texas. They are not from Texas, but they're here now. They're not here for good yet. I don't know. So we're gonna talk about who they are and how they found us, but let's just welcome Jon Parks and Grace Parks. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good to be here.
Yeah, so glad you guys are here, and I can hear you, so we're good. We can pick you up, and then if we individually ask you guys a question, you can step up to the mic and do that. So, guys, you guys tell us a little bit about where you're from, your family, or I'll let Jon tell us this, and if Grace needs to fill in anything you forget, maybe just tell us a little bit about your family, where you're from, and what you guys do.
We're from Bend, Oregon, the center part of Oregon. My wife and I have been married for it'll be 20 years coming up in May. Big 2-0.
Wow.
We have 3 kids, 14, 17 on Sunday, and our oldest will be 19 next month.
And you have 2 of them here with us, right?
Yes.
Kaylee and Ashton are here.
Yep,
So.
they still live at home, so we figured the right thing to do is bring them with, as opposed to leaving them at home.
Yeah. So before we ask your wife what she does, tell us what you do.
I work for a contractor. We would do waterworks, work in the water utility industry.
Pretty big organization.
No, real small company. Right now, probably 7 or 8 employees.
Cool.
About
Okay.
six of them are full time. So we're trying to grow, trying to bring people on board. Some good work ethic and forward thinkers, and
Nice.
and just bring them up in the industry, and that's how we grow.
What's your role there, man?
I am the owner's foreman, or I guess his right hand man.
Yeah.
So I just kind of started as a grunt at the beginning, and just hard work and forward thinking, and taking that initiative that you talk about. Just kind of found myself, I guess, working my way up without trying to work my way up.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
Cool.
just being given more accountability and finding a way to get stuff done to cover those tasks. And yeah.
That's awesome. So Grace, what about you? I know that you are into coaching as well. So, or you're into coaching.
Yes.
I mean, as well as like in us. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about you.
I am a transformation health coach.
Awesome.
And so I've been coaching for 13 years. Started with my own journey of getting healthy, and that just opened the door for healing in other areas of my life. And so we knew pretty fast that this was a way we could minister to people.
Yeah.
Way beyond anything we'd ever done before. So can't seem to get away from it because
That's cool.
we are loving it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about health coaching, or how did you get connected to it?
My own journey, I was 100 pounds overweight, and it affects everything.
Yeah.
Affects how you see yourself. And so I was on the outside very happy, I think. Was good at wearing a mask. And
Before COVID, I think
not that kind of mask, yes.
Yeah.
I think I was good at hiding it. But on the inside, I was very overwhelmed, discouraged, depressed, close to going to the doctor about depression. And I came into our room one day and apologized to my husband for not being beautiful for him, and that got his
she
attention.
didn't just come into the room. She was in tears, just not weeping, but just in tears, apologized to me for not being beautiful for me.
Yeah. Wow.
And for him, that was hard for him to hear as a husband. And so a week later, he met a health coach that walked into our world. He saw right away that we had a heart for people and wanted us to coach from day one. And I said, I just need to lose weight. And had no idea what God was putting in our hand, and it changed our life. And 13 years later, here we
That's
go.
awesome. And so how much weight did you say you lost?
100 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so is this coach still your coach?
Yes, they are.
So
It's
friendship,
actually,
I mean, not just a friendship, but obviously a relationship through coaching and stuff like that.
it was actually her parents that were our original coaches, but they've retired, but she was part of our journey all along. So
Okay.
her and her husband, so they've been coaching, working with us for all 13 years. And yeah, awesome people, amazing people. And same thing, that this is a ministry for them.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you and I talked about earlier last year or this year, that you all had a conference in Atlanta, and some people that I know are in the same coaching network, not your coaching network, but the overall nation. We're going to the same event, which was interesting because I'm going, hey, they're in my circle, and you guys are in my circle, but distance, and I'm going, oh, they're all going to be there. So that was pretty cool. So yeah. So 3 kids, one's moved out, you got 2, and Grace, how has I guess so coaching, what does this coaching entail? What are some of the things that you have to know when you go into coaching? Like, what are some of the characteristics you have to work on as a coach? And like, maybe what are some of the tools that you need to be a health coach?
Probably the biggest thing for me is the desire for personal growth. That the more you work on you and you experience, the more you can pour into other people.
Yeah.
It's definitely something when you're helping people break through barriers. It can be very draining if you don't fill up. So you're constantly trying to become better at who you are, trying to grow personally, spiritually, emotionally, all of those things. And that just flows out in those conversations. And so, and with our program, it's not, I didn't go to school for it. It was the experience where like that one-on-one guide, we walk this journey with them and point them to the tools. And so you learn a lot of tools about healthy mindset with habits that support that mindset.
That's good.
And so I get to pass that on to them.
So you don't even have to have that stuff walking into it either. It's you begin that process to lose weight, and part of that is addressing habits and triggers, and that personal growth is what stemmed from starting that journey. You know, it kind of woke those things up of that pursuit of better. And it's, you know, you set those goals, and you reach those goals, and then you set new goals, and it's just been that process. And I would say finding that program was kind of the turning point, and kind of where that was birthed out of, that desire for growth.
That's awesome. And so when remind us, how many years ago was that?
13.
2008, the end of 2008.
And that was when we moved to Leander. So that's cool. So 13 years into that. And you're from Bend, Oregon, and tell tell us where were you born and raised?
I grew up in Eastern Washington. I was born in Illinois,
Okay.
but grew up in Eastern Washington. Moved when I was like 5, and then went to college in North Dakota. Became a youth pastor in Montana. Moved to Oregon and met Jon.
So Jon, tell us where did you grow up, born and raised, and how'd you get to Oregon?
I was born in Dallas, Fort Worth area, Forest Hill, Texas. We moved to Keller, Texas, and lived there until 1988. And then my mom had family in Portland, Oregon area, and so we moved there in '88. Lived around Portland until 2014, and then got this new job, or the job that I currently have, and so that's what took us to Bend.
That's cool, man. And it's interesting because you said Keller, Texas, and that's now, I mean, everything's exploding in DFW. I'm sure back in the day it was not as busy.
Keller was small. It was small.
It's happening now there. So, and so I told our, our listeners and our viewers that we'll get to this. So we started a podcast a year ago in January 10th for people that just want to search development, leadership, and the words that came to our minds when we first launched this was motivate, inspire, and encourage, and it just continues to be motivate, inspire, and encourage. And we say motivate is your why, inspire are the stories we hear, and encourage are your practical steps. And so at some point you found our podcast, and we'll get to that, but maybe, I know you had said this earlier, I know you were telling, what's funny is Jon Parks right here in front of you got to meet Jon Bang Bang Evans. And,
Yes, I did.
and a couple of guys that I work with, and Tracy. Tracy showed up on one of these podcasts in the background where she was just watching. But anyways, Jon got to meet some people I work with, and I know you were telling him a little bit about how you got to searching, and how you ended up on our podcast. So if we can get to that point, so tell us what you were searching for, the reason that you were searching for whatever you were searching for, and how you found us.
Like I was telling Jon, it was I had mentioned before I have 3 kids, and so being the parent of 3 teenagers, found myself in conversations with them, trying to motivate them, trying to call out the good that I saw in the middle of bad choices or poor choices that they were making. I would say probably even also with my wife, and just some things, and knowing we have the same goals. And I would say our most heated and passionate arguments are kind of when we have the same goal in mind and a different avenue on how to get there, and that's just when we start clashing. But the desire and the want to motivate people and challenge my kids and my family to be better. And no matter how much I internalized it and tried to figure out ways to motivate, it always came across as criticism to them. It was never received the way I intended, and so 10-minute conversations with my kids turned into half-hour, 45-minute, probably closer, honestly, to an hour and a half long conversations or lectures. In quotations, lectures.
Yes.
So that they would walk away, until I feel like my point hit home, and I'm not mad, I'm not, I see this in you, and, but that same thing, it just, 2 days would go by, 3 days would go by, things would be different, and then you kind of slide right back into those routines of them doing things that they wanted to do, and making bad choices. So after just internalizing it and trying to think of ways, and long nights awake in bed, maybe I should look outside of myself to try to figure this stuff out. I suck at motivating people.
So hold on, before you get to where you're at, so we're going to stop right there when you said I'm going to look outside myself. So Grace, on your side, this is happening internally with him. Can you get the sense that, hey, he's trying, or can you get the sense that he's wanting us to be more? Because to me, when I hear him saying that, there's this underlining, like if I came home and there's an underlying issue, Jamie can tell I'm frustrated, but I'm not saying it. And the way I do say it can come out very harsh, or I snap. And I'm not saying he does that, but what I do is I'm like, well, there's trash upstairs. Well, there's trash on this table. Why aren't the girls cleaning up after? And then so it becomes about cleanliness for me, and then I just start to nitpick. But I'm trying to go, girls, why don't you learn to clean up after yourselves? Because in the future it's not going to be us. So could you sense that he was trying to maybe kickstart that, or yeah, tell us a little bit about that part for you.
Yeah, I can definitely. Well, and for me, I had the experience with him that I knew he was always trying to help me be better.
Yeah.
And so I knew the heart behind it, but even then, emotion would still get in the way.
Yeah.
And it would go through that filter, and I would misread things, and I would always come back because I knew his heart.
Yeah.
But the kids don't know that as well.
Yeah.
And I also saw too, because of that frustration with our kids especially, it would also affect him at work.
Yep.
So he would try to share something with coworkers, and they weren't following his heart, and he could tell. And so he was both of them were building on each other.
Man.
He would go to work, be frustrated there, come home, now I'm frustrated with this. And so it was just building and building. So I was watching that grow, and as a wife, knowing his heart, but not knowing how I can help my clients grow through this, but I don't know how to help my husband. And so it was very hard to watch, but yeah, it was amazing timing. This was amazing timing.
Well, good. So John, back to what you're saying. You're saying maybe I need to look outside myself and go ahead and continue.
Well, like she was saying with coworkers and stuff, it's seeing that potential and again trying to speak to that potential, and maybe they're just not in a place where they want that spoken or receptive or what have you. In the same with kids. Well, yeah, I want to be successful, or I want to be this when I grow up, but that's interrupting my fun right now, and I don't want my fun interrupted right now. So okay, how can I? So no, I got to that point where you just throw your hands up in the air, screw it all. I suck at motivating. I'll look outside myself. What is out there?
Yeah.
So I don't think I searched for all three words, but I know motivate and encourage were words that I put in a search for podcasts, just to hear what was out there, to tangible ways to be able to do that. And so that's I think two or three. I think you were the third or the fourth podcast that I had listened to. I made it through 10 or 15 minutes of this, maybe 20 minutes of one.
Yeah.
And then I found yours.
Yeah.
The one where Adina's microphone was off for half the time, or
the
whole time.
It was the whole time, yeah.
But
we knew what we were doing. We just forgot to turn the mic on.
Yeah, no, and it was fine though. It was real. And then in the second episode, you say, "Hey, we listened to that first one, and this is what happened." And it is what it is. And you could just tell the way you guys talked that it was the real deal on your heart for people, or heart to that same wanting to speak to that potential. Like it was so obvious. And so after the first couple of episodes, I told my wife, "Oh, you gotta listen to this guy." And her response after a couple was, "Is he a coach? Is he a transformation coach?"
You reminded us of
because I think it's episode 2 or 3, and you're really talking about finding your why and how important that is. And that's something that we talk to our clients about, is having that thing to pursue, and how important that can be and how important that is.
So you're there, you're looking outside yourself, you search, which shout out to Etiana because she puts all our stuff online. We make it searchable with either hashtags or just all the different platforms that, shout out to Buzzsprout because they host they're great at hosting podcasts, but we put it out there so that you can find it in searchable avenues. And so, man, I'm so glad that you searched that. And I think that not only the main thing for me is not only is it coaching at work, but it's also your coaching, and then it's at home, like with your kids, some of the things that you were looking for. And what's on this side of it, let's say a year ago when you were searching for this a year ago, we're on this side going, is this working? Are people listening? Does this even make sense? And for me, sharing this with Etiana, my wife, and Adina, week in and week out, the fact that we just said, I don't care if it works or not, we're going to continue to hit every week and go, I just want content out there because at some point somebody's going to hear something that they need and it's free. We don't want to charge. At some point God will bless us with whatever, and yes, we got to be responsible with what we make and eventually charge people, but for us, the podcast is tangible ways, practical ways. in exactly what you did, exactly what. But the thing was, is you were on the other side of the United States, and we're over here. And when we start seeing analytics and going, hey, somebody's listening in Portland, Oregon, and then or Bend, Oregon, and then Sacramento, and then we had somebody in Washington, and then Ohio, and then it's going everywhere. We're like, what in the world? And we're just going, we want to put a name with those places. And little did we know, you're on the other end searching, and we're seeing Bend, Oregon show up, and we're over here going, is this working? And then I get I think a message on Facebook. Was that it? I think you requested to be my friend.
Yeah. Through Messenger.
Through Messenger.
It was.
Yeah. And
he kept talking about you,
yeah.
and I'm like, you need to reach out to him.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, because he kept talking about you, and I'm the extrovert, so I would have been like, dude, tell me more about you. And John's a little like more.
Yeah.
Well, what are they gonna think? And I'm like, just reach out to him. And so for him, that was like the first growth I saw in him. He's like, okay.
I remember you saying that. Go ahead. Yeah.
He just reached out to you and said, I want to talk. Can we talk?
Yeah. And so for me, just so you know, like, I'm just gonna be vulnerable. As I don't know if our listeners. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this, but like for me.
We have to now.
Yeah, for me, some of the things that I battle with is not people that I don't know. It's people that sometimes I do know that I go, what is it that they're reaching out for? Like, is it just my time and my energy, or is there really a need? Is there any ownership on the other side of it? And so when I saw you reach out and some other people that had just been listening, I'm going, okay, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want, real engagement of real life, that they're looking for something. And it's not me holding their hand to go, hey, he has all the answers, because I don't. It's whatever you're searching for. And that's what this whole Made for More community is like. And so when I see someone message or someone text, sometimes that's tough for me. And I'm just being honest with whoever's listening right now. It is tough when you're in the career that I chose to be in for year after year after year, and people want that, hey, sometimes there's no ownership in it. And that's what I'm battling still to this day, is to go, I need to have my best for people, even if they don't know what ownership is. And that's why when I learned what extreme ownership was, I go, not everybody knows that, so I need to teach them that, because that's a new concept to a lot of people. And to this day, I go, y'all know who Jocko is? And some people are like, no, I have no idea. I'm like, how do you not know who Jocko Willink is? But the thing is again, you're bringing that up, going a message that you're working for on your end, that you're not so much an extrovert. And on my end, I'm trying to kind of keep my space, like, hey, I just want to keep to myself sometimes. But God's going, in my mind, going, hey, you got to pour into other people when you're doing this. And so it was weird. Again, it goes back to, it's weird that you're going through this on y'all's end. We're going through this on our end. And then God's working on my heart to go, hey, you're going to have to open up to new people. And so you're going to reach out. And so you finally reach out. You remember that?
Oh, I definitely remember that. I won't say I fought it. I internalized it a lot. I do that a lot. It was reaching out because it's going to benefit me. And I really had a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Because if I'm doing something to benefit me, common sense, or my sense says somebody else is not losing out, but it's costing somebody else something if I'm the one gaining. Yeah. And so I'm at by 4, 5, 6 episodes in, I'm feeling guilty because I'm just have these things, just binge listening to everything, because you guys started January 10th, and I think beginning of May is when I started listening. So I was 10 to 12 episodes behind.
Yeah.
And so feeling a little bit guilty, just taking advantage of all this free content. And now I'm reaching out and I'm wanting to take more of this guy's personal time. And so, finally after talking to my wife, and just do it.
Yeah.
Put this, put that. Okay, fine. You know, and it just that commonality, I guess, that we have. Like, I don't know anything on the podcast that I heard was necessarily like concepts or anything life changing. But at the same time, it's that wanting to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Yeah.
You know, I have a colleague that has said, if you're the biggest fish in the pond, you know, you need to find a bigger pond.
Yep.
You know, and not to say, well, I was the biggest fish in my pond, you know, and think that I'm. But it's just that mentality of just always looking.
That's awesome, man. Again, I still remember that day because when you reached out, we're on this side going, hey, somebody reached out about listening to our podcast, and me, Adina, my wife, and Tiana were like, what? They're like, yeah, check this out. This guy messaged us trying to figure out how he found us, and then you just said, hey, I searched you. And for us on this end is just going, does it matter what we're doing? Does it matter? And one of the lessons that I want people to learn is in this, let's just think about podcasters real quick. I want to tell people, do not give up on your dreams, regardless if you get any feedback you said you started listening in May, and we've been already going for 5 months, 4 months. So the fruits of your labor are going to be, they're going to be delayed sometimes because you got to put in the work, you got to put in the consistency, you got to put in the discipline. And one of the things that Tiana brought to our attention last month, which is again January, a year into it, that was the biggest downloaded month, and we're continuing to grow. And it's not about the numbers, but what I'm saying is one of our analytics is, are people listening to our free content? And that's true. And if it's helping, then these are the stories we get to hear, because we it's not just Jon that we've heard from, but it's people that reach out and go, hey, I saw this, I read this, I heard this, can you help me with this? And on my end, when I'm opening my messenger to someone like Jon, I'm going, dude, this is the stuff that fires me up, is helping someone on the other side of the United States to go, what can we do? And so, COVID had just happened, so everything was virtual, and that's when I was like, we got something here, this is cool. We don't have to be in the same state, we don't have to be in the same room, let's do this. And so you reached out, you began, I'm trying to think through what the context was, as far as, was it you asking? I was trying to think.
Is that what you were just saying?
Yeah, that's why I was on my phone for people on YouTube. I wasn't checking messages or anything. I was present. I was going back on Messenger.
You were engaged. He listened to
yes. But I didn't
Yeah.
excuse that or anything before, so hopefully you didn't think that I was
I
just
understand.
like zoning out. But no, I've got the message here. I don't know if you want me to read it or I'm going to sum it up.
Go for it, man. Yes, I'd love for people to be able to hear it, and then we'll go into.
Yeah. First, it was I stumbled across your podcast, listened to the first 3 episodes today. I love where your heart is at, and I want to say thank you and keep it up. And then you asked how I heard about it, and I responded to that, and then June 17th, so May, so 2 months. It took me 2.5 months of listening to finally reach out. I said, man, I would really love to have a conversation with you. To avoid verbal vomit, rambling, etc., I'll just say I love what you're about. It might be that I've been around negativity too much. Extreme ownership moment would say more likely I have failed to be positive. I find you at a time when I was feeling poked by God about allowing complacency to creep in, both in work and my family. By seeking to grow myself in that area of encouragement, I found made for more. I hear you speaking words of life. It's like my spirit is giving you a standing ovation when I listen to what you and your team are talking about. I have tried dissecting why I'm feeling so drawn to you guys, and there's just something there and I can't put my thumb on it. I know it will be a valuable conversation, and I'm willing to pay you for the value that you bring.
Yeah, that was cool, man. I remember reading that, and then I never responded. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, man, when you said that, those are the things that we shared to go, okay, guys, that's what our why is. Like, for Made for More, that's our why. And we've heard not just from you, but other people that have been on here and other people that are listening. And then for us is to go, these books that we read, these things that we say is not for us. It's for all of us. It's the community of Made for More. So when you say that and read that, it reminds me to go, those are the things. And another leadership lesson is to go, I have a positive file in my email to go back and reread those things, because that's what keeps you going. When you forget about your purpose, forget about your why. And then we set up a Zoom call, and I know Grace, and that's when I think, when you were reaching out to me, I know that when I first talked to Grace on Zoom, she kept telling me about how, not introvert, but how that was out of your comfort zone to go, he's actually stepping out to talk to you.
I can count on one hand the number of times that I've felt that poke, or that there's that feeling of there's something there, and if it plays out and I kind of follow those prompts, and I fought this one for a little while, but following those prompts always leads somewhere. That's what took us to Bend. That's the job that I have now that is just worked out beautifully. It is by following those things.
Yeah.
And so Grace, leading up to that Zoom call, she's like, what are you going to talk about? I have no idea. Again, as an introvert and not having like a plan, you know, that's anxiety on steroids.
No doubt. Go for it.
It was cool, like we were getting ready for some trip, I don't remember what we were doing, and I was packing and my daughter, at the time 16, came in and I was listening to my podcast. And I said something, I was like, have you noticed a difference in Dad since he started? And she said, oh yeah, and that was encouraging to hear that from your kids.
Yeah.
But to be already in that short time seeing the difference in his conversations.
Yeah.
Recognizing, and like the things that we're reading that apply to business apply to every area of your life.
Exactly.
And so getting to see that change in him, but yes, it was totally out of his comfort zone to reach out to you. Me, that would not have been unusual. For him, that was very unusual.
It was the coolest conversation though, to just be able to go into it, and I think between both of us, I had no agenda.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea where this is going. It's just, let's see where it goes.
Yeah. And I remember saying, hey, because I think my daughter had dance that night, and I said, hey babe, I'm going to meet with somebody on Zoom, Jon and Grace, and I said, you know, they're the people from Oregon that heard about our podcast. So I came in here, set up, and of course Zoom was going crazy because COVID had just hit. And we hopped on, and I was like, it's probably just gonna be about an hour. And I think 2.5 hours later, we were like, man, we just covered life and how you were from Texas, how you found us.
Oregon.
From Texas. You were born in Texas.
Yeah.
Went up to Oregon, and then just the commonalities between what you guys were reading, what we read, Jocko, just a lot of that talk. But one of the things, Grace, I'll ask you a question as far as this. This nudging, whatever you want to call it, you know, the following your gut feeling or whatever that Jon said, you know, moving up there for that job, reaching out to me. Does that ever become scary as a spouse to go, are we going to jump? I'm just wondering.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where you get the, I like to know what's coming part. There was actually that interview when, who interviewed you?
Dina.
Yeah. There was one point we were sitting in the car picking up our daughter from something, and I looked over at him, and you had said it took 5 years for you to put this into action. And Jon was like, but it was the perfect time for me. I needed it. Oh.
That's me.
Okay.
My phone. Sorry. It just flew off my lap. Like I went on my phone, it just flew off my lap, and I have a 12-pack of empty Jocko discipline go over here that hit. So, anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But I looked at him and I said, "You have something coming down. God's leading you. God's doing something, and He's leading you to something. Do you know what it is?" And he looked.
And you're not telling me.
And he still didn't answer. I still have not gotten an answer, but I know that God is stirring something in him, and so watching him follow that and trying to support it. So I actually reached out to your wife. And how did you support Mario in that 5 years where you saw something in him and he wasn't ready to step into it? And so as a wife, I'm like, I do not want to rush him into what God's doing here, but He is doing something. So trying to be that support without pushing him, but at the same time encouraging him to follow those little moments.
Yeah, that's good. And the reason I ask is because today we were all at middle school, and we were at Burnett Middle School in Austin, and just talking about some of these topics. But it's live your life, like whether it's a nudge from God or something that you're good at and you know you need to go after it. You said it took me 5 years, and I'm like, holy crap, did it really take you 5 years? I can't believe that. And it did. But what I want people to know that are listening to this right now is like, you have one freaking life. And I think we forget that. You have one life. You have one life. And freaking Eminem, you only get one shot, right? But here's what I'm saying is when you really think about it, man, you have one life to live right now. Just one freaking life. And if you don't do it, then when are you going to do it? And if you don't, then you're gonna look back and you're just gonna hear the freaking ticking clock going, I should have did it. I should have did this a long time ago. And I think some people, I know most people, because myself included, the work to get there seems, or the fear to get past that, and then the work to get past that. All the excuses can come because you see the work in front of you. But that feeling of that nudging or that gut feeling of going, I gotta do something is much greater than that. And that's why we're saying made for more is, you're made for more than this. You just have to follow it. It's up to you. It's not up to anyone else. It's up to you to move because no one else is gonna do it. And so that's why I ask you that, because I mean, for me, the primary, I think I said this, the primary job, I mean, I've been in it for 6 months, primary job now. My secondary job is fading. So baiting as in I'm gonna step away at some point. But my primary job, which is this now, what's funny is I can tell now on weekends is my cup is filled up to where and this is how I know, this may seem stupid to some people, but I'm doing, I'm like just not renovating a room, but I'm reorganizing rooms. Doing things around the house, and in my head I'm going, why do I have the capacity to do this when I didn't before? It's because the things that I'm supposed to be doing are filling me up, and I'm taking that time, even though they take that time away. Like today, we were at school, I don't know how many hours, but that fills me up to go, this weekend, yes, I need some rest, but when I'm resting, I'm either spending time with my kids, or I'm reorganizing a bookshelf, or I'm spending time with other people that want books, or we're here hanging out, and I'm going, I know this is working, and I know I'm heading in the right direction because God's filling.
You're in your purpose.
Yeah, I'm in that zone. So, yeah. Did you?
Good.
Yeah. Okay. So we're at the point where you and I meet for 2.5 hours, and Grace on Zoom. I think my wife missed that meeting, and then we continue to do the podcast. We set up a second call, right?
Yeah.
We just touched base. I can't remember when that was. I don't know what was going on at that
It's
point.
actually the night before he had a friend, coworker commit suicide the next night.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that. And having to reach out and just, man, I remember getting that message from you. That is right. Because I remember reaching out and going, man, I can't believe that happened. And the fact that you were away from home, though, right? You were away.
The previous week, yeah. Me and him and one other coworker. We were working about 45 minutes from home, so it was easier to just grab a hotel.
Yeah.
But we'd come back to, or Airbnb, and we'd come back to that Airbnb and have some really good conversations. He was not close to my son's age, but kind of his relationship with his parents was kind of, I saw a lot of resemblance between my relationship with my son, and just kind of at odds sometimes, but you still care, there's still love there, and you know it. And so he and I had a couple of really good conversations about his perspective and my perspective, and he got to see where I was coming from as a parent, wanting to be able to connect with my son, but I'm dancing on that line of, I gotta discipline him, I've gotta, teach him these things, like this is serious, but you don't want to push so hard that you push him away. And that's that line is there, and I'm so probably paralyzed by fear some of the time because of fear of crossing that line. But then we just had this real conversation of, if you push too hard, you're gonna lose him. And so, okay, your perspective, what do I address, what do I not address, just to get that perspective. But something that we are learning is perspective is a lot. There's so many different points of perspective that you never assume that you have the right one.
And you got to have your mind open to all those. Don't just look at it from your point of view, your perspective. You got to look at it from all different angles. Yeah, that's right.
So Friday, we got done Friday late afternoon, finished work and went home, and then he committed suicide late Saturday night.
Man.
And so that left me and my coworkers.
Yeah.
Did you pick up on anything? No, I didn't sense anything, and just.
That sucks, man.
Yeah.
And that was, within a month of you had interviewed someone that had just gone through that.
Yeah.
Something very similar. Losing
Tyler.
someone.
Was that Tyler?
Tyler had lost his dad, but Jay had talked about it had to have been Tyler, the night that Tyler and I just sat here, because Jay's was in June or July. But Tyler and I sat here, and Tyler talked about, he talked about losing his dad, but then he lost a friend who committed suicide, he was close to her. So, yeah, man, that's crazy. That again, we had that second call, that happened, and we kept in touch. So in those times, man, for both of you, whether it's the coaching career, Grace or John, whoever wants to answer this first, the things you're learning on Made for More, how did that transfer, or what were you picking up on that you were using? Like, why stick to our podcast, and what were you transferring over into what you were doing? If you can.
Yeah. Well, a lot of my leadership in the group that I'm in with my coaching, they're always challenging us, and we're reading things together, and all those things to help us grow as a coach, knowing the more we work on us, the more we can help them. And so everything that you're bringing up, I think probably the most impactful one, which I don't think you went through it, I think you talked about it, was leading on empty.
That's funny that you say that,
And
because Dina wants to do that book, and I keep telling her no. And the only reason I say no is because, I mean, it's a lot to unpack, and there's a lot that when you look in the mirror, you start to go, I'm looking at all the gauges on this dashboard, and all of them are in my life, and they're all on empty, or they're about to be on empty, and you have to take a really good look at it and go, no one's going to change that except you.
Yep. Yeah. So you had mentioned that one before, but then and all of the other ones that you've gone through, there's some, with my job, it's very relationship based, and I'm my own boss, and they're volunteers.
Yep.
And so some of them it's a little hard to, like, I've reached out to you a few times, I'm not quite sure how to apply this part. But so much of it, I think you can learn something from anything, and so everything that you've read, I'm constantly looking, going, how can I apply that in my personal life, in parenting life, in relationships, and in coaching. And so every single thing that you've gone through, there's always been something that resonates. Yeah. Something in there, even if it's certain authors, I might resonate more with some authors, but there's always something they'll say. And so by you guys talking about it, it helps me catch even more, like, oh yeah, that part didn't stand out. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. And so it really helps me keep going. It keeps me accountable to continue to keep pouring into myself. Yeah. But also to just refresh things that stood out to you really helps me grasp it even more.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that, because the month that you and I talked about this book, two other people that weren't in ministry and they're listening to the podcast, but they said, hey, you keep mentioning this, I ordered it. And I was like, well, just a heads up, it's not, he talks about it as in pastors, but every now and then he talks about, hey, as a regular person. Mm-hmm. But, I guess I just finished this book in January, so I guess we're going to be going through it again, because Nina wants to go through it. But it's so good that the practical steps are what you take away. And again, the only reason I know that I'm where I'm at personally is because this book says you're getting there. You're getting there. But if you don't watch it, you can, go back the other way and go backwards, and you're empty. The cup is just going to be empty again. And so that's good to know. I mean, to me, it's a really good book. So. John, what about you, man? Going to work, hearing these podcasts, what are some of the things that maybe you said, this is what I'm using, this is what works?
I think it's just different, again, perspectives. That has really been my bent lately, is being curious about perspectives and how broad of a variety there are. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times hearing kind of what stood out to you in these books, or just the stuff you guys talk about, is a different perspective on things that I can talk to guys at work about. Like I said, trying to bring them up, trying to get them to want more. Not in pushing somebody to want to learn more, or to learn these skills, and helping them realize, or you wanting them that fear of, well, they're just going to think I'm pushing them because I need to get more production out of them. Yeah, it's not that. It's like, exactly. Yeah. And so, here I am. Like, trust is really big with me, and so if I fear that what I'm going to say is not going to be heard the way I intend it, then I tend to just internalize it until I have it scripted to where I remember having a conversation with one of my coworkers, and I kind of paraphrased it with, "Don't take this the wrong way, but this."
Yeah.
Or and he's like, "Do you really think that I was going to take that the wrong way?" No.
Yeah.
I think it was me. It was a fear in me, and in order to, I guess, protect myself, I needed to stage it this way, so that it didn't come across.
Yeah.
And no, I should have had every bit of trust in you that you could take that, maybe harsh, maybe abrasive comment or question, and been mature enough to, we talk through it and we disagree, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, but that's just it. It's trying to figure out how to motivate people, how to, I guess maybe inspire would be better, to inspire them to want it for themselves. One thing that stood out to me with watching you work with these middle schoolers today was you talk about all these things below the surface, and you're asking them to step out in front of their peers, if your home situation is bad, or if you've ever lied, or if you've ever this. What's my point? You can tell by the reaction that if they're being honest, if they're being true, if they're telling the truth or not.
Yeah.
Asking for questions. What stood out to you guys, or why wouldn't you move?
Yeah.
I know you wanted to, and they're just not owning it.
Yep.
And you can't help inspire change. Like, that's where change is born, in that moment. And if they don't own why I didn't do it, or this is why I did it, then they're just bypassing that opportunity, and you got to wait until the next one comes up. And from my point of view, it's, when is that next opportunity going to come up? Is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be a year from now? And that's a hard what if when you want to help people.
Yeah, and so John brought up, we were at a middle school today, and man, I got to tell you that little 8th grade girl inspired the heck out of me, dude. When we had everybody lined up on one side of the room, and I just said, if you have a bad home, or if you wish you could change your home life, cross over. And no one moved. And I said in 15 years, no one's ever walked by themselves. And so, and this is a very low income and high at risk school, and so all probably poverty. And so I said, if you could change your home life right now, waiting across, come stand with me. And no one moved. And so I could see people leaning forward like they were gonna cross and walk with me. And this one girl, she took a step, and then she stepped back, and she looked at me, and I just told everybody, I said, "Hey guys, it's cool, I'm gonna wait right here." And I looked at her, and we made eye contact.
It's almost like a false start on the line in football.
Exactly. And so I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I said, "Hey, it's okay. It's okay, I'm over here. I'll be over here with you." And she crossed, and then after she crossed, 2, 3, 4, 5 people crossed, 6 people. And here's this young girl that I stopped, and while everybody was crossing and saying things, I looked at her and I said, "Hey, you're a leader. Like, you did what it takes. No one else can take that from you." And then so we called her out a little bit later and just said, "Hey, proud of this girl, because she did what was right when no one else would do it." She knew
she
wanted to
stood by herself.
Yep, she stood by herself
for a good
bit.
4 or 5 seconds before number 2, number 3, number 4 came.
Yep.
And man, empathy, you just have to wonder what she was feeling.
Yeah. But it also, in life, to go, when we're that way and we take that leap, that the freedom comes with it, and the strength and the courage and the vulnerability. But it's, for me, it's going, the next time this comes up, I can do this again. Like, I have what it takes. And it's just building that confidence. So now we're up to where we've had our second conversation. You're taking some of these things, working on them. Grace is as well. And then I'm trying to think, when I asked you guys if, I said, "Hey, when can we do an interview with you guys?" Was that last year, or was it the beginning of this year?
That was
before
on.
Christmas.
Was it before?
It was right before
Yes,
Christmas.
it was right before, because we were getting ready to leave,
Oh,
and we tried to hit that
that's right.
conversation right before we left for Christmas break.
Yeah, because we
And
were
it
in,
didn't happen.
we were in Midland, and I had to ask, because Etiana, myself, Jamie, and Nadina were trying to plan out the whole new year. And we came in, we did our goals, and I said, "Man, it'd be cool to get the parks on." So we wrote you down as one of the wins for the year, and then we wrote you guys down as, "Hey, the future, we got to interview them." And so we looked for all these different platforms to do good Zoom interviews. We interviewed Jay that way, it screwed up. We interviewed Jay again, it screwed up. And so we're getting the hang of it. But then I asked you, I said, "Hey man, let's get together. When can we do an interview?" And then you said, there's a
Well,
stipulation,
you,
right?
you asked me, and I said, "Is it okay if I put a condition on said interview?"
And I'm sitting there
And
going,
there was a little bit of hesitation.
I have no idea what this guy's.
Are we gonna put
say.
We're gonna start putting demands on this now? Prima donna. So no. So after agreeing, I said I really would like to do that interview in purpose. I would love to do that interview in person.
Yeah, and so I was like, heck yeah, man, I don't know what that looks like, but we'll make it happen. And then so a few weeks pass, we get on a third Zoom call, I think, right?
Yeah.
And we're just catching up. And so I said,
All of us in different time zones.
yes, oh yeah,
I was in Wyoming at the time.
Oregon, and I'm here in Texas, and we're all trying to navigate that. And so, because we missed a day or two, right? Something happened. Did we have to move it back a day? I can't remember. We were supposed to
It
meet.
was just trying to get it to
just
line
trying to
up
get it
and all the stars to align with the schedules.
Yeah, and so we get on there, and I just say, so what's going on? What do you think? And you guys were just like, hey, here's some dates that we're gonna throw out at you. What do you think about us coming down? And so I was like, I'm cool with it. I don't know what my wife will say, but I'm cool with it. And so she was laying down in there, and I was either texting her or something, and you were saying it, and I just said, sure, February, let's do it. And so we're here tonight, and what's funny is some people, like I was telling the middle schoolers today, we've never met in person, and you guys showed up last night at around midnight.
Yep.
And you guys go to the school with us. It was cool to tell people that we had launched this business called Made for More Consulting, and we try to help people, and that actually some people in the room, it's the first time we met, and I said, we've met these guys, but it's the first time we've met in person, and so you guys are here tonight, man. This has been a long time in the making to me, so yeah, we're here.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't weird or awkward or anything. Like, how did you put it last night? She had asked a question like, do you feel like it was like you're seeing your best friend again? And it's like, well, I don't know if I describe it that way, but it was like the excitement building, like exactly that feeling, but also I've never met this person in person.
Yeah.
So it was kind of it was a surreal, weird feeling, but just to be able to shake your hand and bring that into a hug and it's great.
That's awesome. And Grace, what about for you? Like coming down, being the extrovert side of it, what is it? How does that
Just
feel?
a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was cool seeing, I've never seen my husband so giddy.
Yeah.
To meet you guys. That was pretty cool seeing that.
Yeah.
He was giddy. It's okay, you can say it. It's him. For me, I felt like we were already connected.
Yeah.
And finally get to see you in person.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like getting to put the names with the faces. Even though seeing you on Facebook is one thing, meeting you in person, now it's gonna start clicking. But I'm like, man, I feel like they've just been these friends I've just been waiting to meet.
Yeah.
And that it was that same feeling we had that first podcast, like, okay, they have our heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I want to be around people with our heartbeat.
Yeah.
When you'd mentioned before that, kind of when you find yourself being in your purpose, how that fills your cup.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same with kind of being around and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and just the synergy and the encouragement that you bounce off of each other. Like, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I know just hearing that podcast, it recharges me because, hey, here's a guy that is doing what I want to do, and I'm trying to pick apart what can I draw from this, and I'm sure at some point I'm going to start at the beginning and I'm going to go through these again, and there's going to be more stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also branching off. It's this book, and now I'm going to follow this person, and that network of growth. One of the things when I came here is like, not again demands. But it's like, man, I want to meet everybody that you're close to because this is who you surrounded yourself with.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, and I know you guys. So just before we'll have leading into that, I think it's a great segue into going into. We had a little bit of fun today. We went to the middle school, but you got to see Mark. You got to meet Mark Avalos, the owner of Slab, who I work with him closer than almost anyone, and. You haven't met Raph, but you got to meet some of his staff. You guys got to try Slab. So first, what did you think about Slab Barbecue?
It's awesome. And just again hearing it more and more, and then you're actually there. So you're building that desire to try it, and no, just knowing, I guess, having that background and that insight to this is what they strive for.
Yeah.
And to get to walk into a place that, I mean, if you were to just walk in there off the street, you probably wouldn't know what you were in for or what the heart is behind it. But maybe I'm biased because I already know what that is, so maybe it shines through. And but no, it was really cool just to get to see all this in person.
That's cool, man. I'm just glad. Grace, what did you think about Slab? What did you have to eat? And well, tell me what you thought about Slab and what did you have to eat?
Very cool atmosphere.
Yeah.
Very welcoming, and I like barbecue, but I don't think I've ever been in a going into. I'm like, I could totally just hang out here.
That's what the vibe's for.
And I have not seen that in barbecue places before.
Yeah.
So yeah, he rocked it.
Yeah,
He did
that's
a great
awesome.
job
Shout
with
out to Mark and Raph. Good.
Definitely.
So what did you eat? What did you have?
I had that wrap. Yeah, thank you.
Tornado.
Some of my go-tos.
My wife had the nachos, and then your kids had the McDowell and the Tony Montana. And then what did you have?
El Jefe.
El Jefe. There you go. That's right. And so you got to meet Mark. Again, Mark's just laid back dude, man. He's the owner, the creator of Slab, and laid back guy. Just cares about people though. Cares about barbecue and making sure that people know that he's in the people business. He just happens to be doing barbecue.
Yeah.
So we went to Slab, did that. Before we get into some more questions, what I wanted to ask you guys was, what about what would you say as you're wrapping up? I mean, we're here, but like anyone that is just now listening to this, maybe for the first time, what would you maybe encourage them to stay with or stick with or learn or in that area? Like what would you say to someone who's just now listening to the podcast? You can take your time.
Right.
I'm just trying to think through those people that they're listening to this and they go, oh, he's doing it, because some people just listen to the interviews or the guests, which is cool. And I would ask, okay, so let's say I turn this on, Mario's interviewing, they traveled here. So what's the big deal about
What's
listening?
so special
Yeah.
about Mario?
Not me, our team and
You're sorry, what
No,
you're
you're good.
doing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I didn't mean to project that spotlight right on you.
It's all good. It's all good. No, I get it. I just, yeah, Dina and Tiana.
It's for me, it's how rewarding that journey of personal growth is. But it costs you something, and I think that's what holds a lot of people back, is that sacrifice that you have to make up front. And sometimes it can be big, and sometimes it can be small. And some of the trouble and mischief that my kids have found themselves in is because of that pursuit of wanting to have fun right now. My 18-year-old, and kind of one of the things that caused us to butt heads is not wanting to be under that authority, because at 17 going into 18, that desire for independence. And so he actually came to me with the example of learning to ride a bike. Shout out to Curtis, man, I love you. So if you're listening to this, I'm not throwing you under the bus, son, at all. And he said, Dad, you just gotta let me fall down and let me learn from those mistakes.
That's tough to hear as a father.
It's and it's that perspective of, and again, my perspective might not be 100% right, but my perspective at the time was my perspective. And from my point of view, you're riding straight for a cliff, and you haven't learned how to turn yet.
Yeah.
And it's not a 5-foot cliff. It's it's gonna kill you. Height. Cliff. And Curtis, what am I supposed to do with that? I don't.
Yeah.
I can't sleep at night knowing that I left words unsaid. And so it's been a little over a year, almost a year. He's still 18. So he's moved out and he's on his own making some decisions. Some of them good, hopefully. Some of them maybe not so good. And he's doing good. We saw him the day before we flew out. So we saw him day before yesterday.
Yeah.
And he's alive. He's doing okay. And
cool.
Hopefully life has taught him some lessons. And so that's kind of how I've staged it since he was 16, 17. It's when you turn 18 and can't follow some of these simple rules, we'll have to leave it up to the world to teach you a lesson that you refuse to learn at home. And
That's
so
tough.
and that's sorry, I think that was one of those rabbit trails and into
you're
the
good.
maze
No,
moments
no, you're good.
that I warned you about. But no, I think it's just stepping away from what you know, what's fun, what's that journey of personal growth.
Yeah.
But man, it's so rewarding once you can learn to take it for what it is and look back and see the difference.
That's good. And Grace, what would you say?
Along the same lines, very similar. A lot of times we want to follow that big God-sized dream, but we get tired.
Yep.
And I can see myself sometimes. I just want to not go today. Can I just not work today?
Yeah.
But then you remember what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
And it gets you going, and it means it takes those hard work on those days you don't feel motivated. And listening, like sometimes it's easier to just think in the moment, but then realizing I can't move forward if I don't look forward at what I'm going towards. And so if you're listening to this, if you know there's something that you're driven towards, that whether it's you just have that passion all your life, or I call it a God-sized dreams, those things that you know are gonna take growth to get there, then do the work. Do the work to learn. And so that's why we listen to these podcasts, because it helps us do the work, but not just listening. Listening, how can I apply this, put it into action, and live it. And constantly, there's so many times a lot of times you'll say something many podcasts ago, but then it comes up again. And you're like, oh yeah, I haven't been doing that. And that was something I wanted to implement, and I haven't yet. And so, and I think that's just part of growth that will happen. If it's something you need to grow in, it'll come up again. But then when it comes up again, okay, am I going to listen to it this time and do it? And so that's what I would say is personal growth does not come naturally. It doesn't come easy, but it is worth every moment.
I love that. Both of y'all saying that, and I have this quote that I heard today, and I just wrote it I talked it into my phone. I didn't write it while I was driving. But it said, don't give away the power of free will. Leverage that to be great. Reject the easiness of life that is being sold to you because it's poison. And this guy, Micah Fink, said that. He just said, reject the easiness of life. Reject it because you're being sold that every single day and your dreams are slipping away. And if you don't reject it, it's hard to hear this. It's hard to hear that. But you're the only one that can reject that. No one else can. And so, before we ask a few questions, did you have anything that you wanted to ask about anything? No? Tatiana? So, we usually ask our guests a couple of fun questions. So, walkout songs. Like if you're going to be a WWE superstar and you're going to run out to a song.
He warned me. He said, he always asks this question. You need to know the answer.
So what song
You're going
would that,
first.
what song would that be for you, John?
I have to say that changes. I don't know that I can pull one from my childhood because I was a little bit sheltered growing up. Lately, though, it's been Boom by POD.
Yeah, they were here 3 weeks ago.
Really?
Right up catty corner from Slab. There's a place called the Hot Spot, and they do outside venue concerts while people are eating inside. Or it's like a lift, like a garage door venue, and they open it up and you can sit out there and watch. And POD was here a few weeks ago. So Dan, the guy you met today, excuse me, he's a big POD fan.
Yeah, I don't know that I could honestly say I've been a huge POD fan. Like, it's just kind of a song that I heard, and I was like, oh, who sings that? I haven't heard that song in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't remember what movie it was that we were. Oh no, it was American Underdog, a new football movie about.
I saw that. Kurt Warner.
Yeah. And so there's a couple of other movies. Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James.
Yeah.
They played that song too.
That's
so
funny.
It's like a real underdog
Yeah.
type song.
Yeah.
There's a few lines in there that kind of speak to that and rising up to that challenge.
Yep.
And so
That's
I
cool,
think that's why it resonates right
Yeah.
now. It's that.
That's good.
That.
I think that what's funny is when people ask me, hey, who's POD, like some of these younger, and maybe they don't know who Switchfoot is, but Switchfoot and POD were the bands that most, like the NFL, the commercials used because they had these these hit songs that went with either the NFL or or college football Saturday, because they would play their songs right before they went to commercial. And I was like, that's Switchfoot, or hey, that's POD. They're using because of the message that it was speaking. And if you listen to the lyrics behind it, you're going, oh man, that's a pretty sweet song. So yeah, POD has quite a few of those songs that I know that the world used to promote whatever show or whatever, but it's because of that reason. That's pretty cool. That's a good one. What about you, Grace?
Yeah, I had to think about it because it changes every week.
Same.
But the ones that I always come back to, Toby Mac, I think it's called Light Shine Bright, or it might just be Shine.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then Thrive, is that Mercy Me? That sings that?
I think Mercy Me sings a
Yeah,
song called
both of
Thrive.
those. Yeah, just remind me this is why I'm doing this.
That's good.
I don't know that Thrive is a song to come out to
We were
a
made to thrive.
WWE match.
No, see, I don't.
Oh,
Just
wow.
saying, I
That's
love
not
you,
me.
but that's, you don't walk out.
That's
Well,
why I'm like-
No, I guess, wait a second though, because one of the songs I thought about when I was, you're about my age, so you probably remember Evander Holyfield when he fought Mike Tyson, and he walked out to "When the Spirit of the Lord Moves on My Heart,
I didn't know that.
I Will Dance Like David Danced." I remember I was just a kid.
Really?
I was a kid, and I remember that song, and that was the coolest thing. Like,
That's
here's
cool.
this big guy walking,
Yeah.
and it wasn't a, reach out and grab you and,
Yeah.
motivate you, hype you up
Yeah.
song. It was who he was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I do know that when I watched Tyson come, so Tyson was in prison, right? And then so he comes back, and the reason I remember this is because it was 1999, and he came back, I believe, and he came out to a DMX song, and it was just the bell tolling. And when everything went pitch black, and you have the baddest man on earth, that they called him, one of the best boxers ever. And all the lights went out, and then the bell's tolling, and there's this dude in the ring going, "What's going on?" And it's Mike Tyson coming out. I'm going, dude, if that doesn't scare you, then this guy is a bad man. And anyways, that I remember. Again, those are the kind of moments that I'm going, the walkout songs. Again, Rocky. If you watch some of these guys in UFC or you watch boxing still, I mean, you see this walkout songs that they come out to, and you're going, man, I want to listen to this because I'm about to be in battle with somebody, and you want to have that momentum of just some energy. So that's cool. What about favorite movies? You guys have, like, if you had to list a couple of favorite movies, what are your favorite movies?
That also
Put you on the
changes
spot.
every week.
I forgot about that question.
Yeah, so you didn't worry.
No, I didn't.
It's all good. Just curious, what or some old school ones do you like, or some new ones?
Newsies,
Yeah.
hands down.
It's almost
Favorite
before my
movie.
time.
Before, I know you, youngin.
Before what?
I said that's almost before my time.
Um,
Really. I don't know if I would say favorite, but one, when we used to have cable TV, Shawshank Redemption. I
Yeah.
don't care what point in the movie it's at, you just gotta finish it out.
Yeah. That's a long movie though, right?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 hours, and I didn't find out until about a year, maybe 2 years ago, that was a Stephen King movie, and I didn't know that.
I didn't know that until you
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah.
Stephen King?
I was today years old when I learned that. Yeah,
Wow.
that and The Green Mile are both Stephen King movies, and
Really?
it's just not a typical.
Yeah.
Did y'all know that? That's cool.
Your life has changed.
There
now.
you go.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow. Stephen King. Yeah. John's dropping truth bombs on us.
Or
guys,
am I? Fact
yeah.
checkers.
Yeah, they better check this facts. Anything before am I forgetting anything?
Not for that one.
You got anything? Valley? My daughter.
I want to be on the podcast.
No? Okay. Anyways, guys, I can't tell you how awesome it is to have you guys here. Again, because of the connection that we have through the podcast, but then just interviewing you, seeing this side of it, getting to spend some time with you and your family, and then today, again, going to the school was awesome, being able to do that, and then just the future. I mean, again, I don't know what the future holds for y'all's life, and then just for Made for More to continue to make an impact in people's lives, just like you guys. And again, thanks for the support and the encouragement that you guys are to us, because it's not just me, it's our team, my wife, Atiana, Adina. Those are the kind of things that when we have this group text going, which we hate group text, but when we do share things like this, those things are what make it worth it. And we're like, man, this is why we do what we do. So
I also, if I can, real quick, I know you're trying to close it out.
no, go for it.
But one thing I did want to point out, and I think you've mentioned on the podcast before, that Made for More is not at the point yet where it has paid employees. One of the things that's always, I know that I'm not the only one that sees what I see when you got people that are doing what they do and that level of commitment, not getting paid, like you've got something special that they are wanting to be on that journey with you. And I really admire them for that. I think it's really cool. So
Appreciate it.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's what we've said, I think all three of us, and I think some people think we're crazy or think they're crazy. Going, what are you doing? Why are you helping? And sometimes I ask
Everything
myself
is not always about
but-
money.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to remember that. So I appreciate that. I mean, those words mean a lot. You guys being here means a lot to me. I hate to end it, but what?
I said I know.
Oh, I thought you had a question. But anyways, guys, thank you for being here. Thanks for being on. Thanks for making the trip all the way from Oregon. Is there anything else, last minute, anything else you need to say? Anything you want to say?
I can think of.
Okay. Well, appreciate you guys being here. We've already introduced them to Slab. We introduced them to Rose's Cafe, which is Mexican food. And we're probably gonna introduce them to a couple other things around Austin, but excuse me, guys. I appreciate you being here. Dina, you missed a heck of a podcast. She'll hopefully be back soon. Our next podcast, I think, might be a Q&A. I'm not sure yet, but I would go ahead, I guess, and tell people to go buy Leading on Empty
Here it
by
goes.
Wayne Cordero.
From the Made for More website.
Yes, on the Made for More website. The interesting thing about this book that I'll tell you guys is it's not available on Audible. There's a reason, I can't remember why he said it. I mean, if you look it up, you can find the reason why. But Wayne Cordero, Leading on Empty, it says refilling your tank and renewing your passion. Telling you guys it's a life changer. I've read it at least 2 or 3 times, or at least 3 times. And I will tell you right off the bat, he talks to pastors, but I'm just telling you, get past that and go to the actual meaning of what he's saying when it comes to life. So go buy Leading on Empty by Wayne Cordero. We're going to start that in a couple weeks. Guys, if you haven't followed us, go to our website, madeformoreconsulting.com. That's the number 4. There you can follow us on socials. You can see what we're all about. You can listen to our podcast, and you can just, again, view what's going on. And then wait for us. Go follow us on where you listen to your podcast. Give us a review, a like, leave a comment or 2, and again, remember, we exist for more. We're here to offer more. Don't ever give up. Every single one of us is made for more. Later. Boom. That's good, man.
Awesome.
Good.
That's really good.
So that wasn't the book I was thinking of, which I did read this, and it was very good. But I
Ooh.
listened to it on
Oh.
Audible.
Hey guys,
I
YouTube,
Every week.
every week we
Bye.
forget. Love you guys. We'll see you.
had forgot I was still hiding.